You did mention that you have another upcoming book, Spirits of Suddenly. What is that one about?
Okay, so it's a short story format in a way. Are you familiar with the book Arabian Nights?
Vaguely.
Okay, so basically what it is it's a bunch of stories within a larger story. Okay, so you know how the king is betrayed by his wife, so he takes that out on all the women in his kingdom. Basically, he marries
Yep.
one, right, kills her the next day, etc. So one brave woman, I think she's actually the vizier's daughter, volunteers to marry the sultan, knowing full well what's going to happen, but she's got a plan, and so she's going to try to get out of it by basically telling stories, and she's really good at it. So she tells the story, leaves it on a cliffhanger, and so he doesn't kill her because he wants to hear the end of the story. And on it goes, right? Until
Yep.
the end, and he decides not to kill her and to keep her, right?
Yep. Yep. I'm
So
familiar with that.
this is kind of like that. The overarching story is different, but it does deal a little bit with Islam and with the Middle East and things like that. So there's a relationship there. Basically, the overarching story is that there are these two guys. They're from Palestine. They are victims, basically, of one of the Israeli bombings. They're one of the guy's daughters gets killed, and of course the other guy, because they're brothers, it's his niece that's killed. So this was at the time when the border was wide open, and somehow they find their way, to America. They come up through the border, and they decide that they're going to take this hospital and they're going to hold it hostage, and they're going to suicide bomb it or whatever, right? To try to bring attention to the fact that Israel is doing these things or whatever, and we're supporting them. Of course, they don't like that. So anyway, they do that. They plan to do it, but they kind of suck at their job. So instead of carrying that out, what happens is one of the staff there basically takes them hostage. She uses the MRI machine to take away their guns, because it's magnetic, so it sucks metal, right?
All right.
And then she knocks them out with anesthesia gas. She ties them up. And instead of turning them over to the authorities, she says, you know what? The enemy of my enemy may not be my friend, but the enemy of my enemy can be useful. And, we're enemies, but you guys are nothing compared to the enemy of the US government. And she proceeds to kind of tell them these stories why. Okay. And of course, she's got them tied up, so they have to listen. And one of the stories she tells is about a teenager who is being basically groomed online by these CIA, deep state operatives to shoot up a school. But he doesn't do it. He goes to buy the gun, and the person he gets the gun from is actually Jesus. He doesn't realize it to the end, and he ends up stopping the school shooting. But it kind of brings attention to that theory that our elites are orchestrating these shootings in order to turn popular opinion against the Second Amendment. So it goes with that theory.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one about an FBI agent who is trying to entrap this January 6th participant. He ends up falling in love with her. And then there's another one about a January 6th, basically prisoner, I guess. He ends up getting transferred to Guantanamo Bay, and he meets this guy who's been brain injured. He's a Taliban guy, and they end up escaping together. And there's a lot more stories that she tells. And as time goes on, she, Muhammad, the two Muhammads, as I call them in the story.
Okay. Wow. That's an easy enough name.
Yeah.
For anyone who's familiar with that part of the world, it's pretty
Right,
common
yeah,
from
so
what I understand.
Yeah, so the two Muhammads, because they're both named Muhammad, they're brothers. They basically kind of, I wouldn't say they change completely, but their perspective on things kind of starts to soften from this hard line religious worldview into maybe being more open to the fact that maybe things aren't exactly the way that they were told their whole lives. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but at the end, they haven't like converted or anything like that. Because again, I don't like sappy conversion BS. Okay.
No, it's not very realistic. Usually that takes a
It's
long
not.
time anyway.
It's not. It's not. So, but you see them, just kind of seeing people around them differently. Because if you're a hardline Muslim and you believe all the doctrine, you don't believe that non-Muslims are equal to you. You believe they're inferior because that's what the doctrine says. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone who's non-Muslim is an inferior kafir. And at the beginning of the story, when it's kind of being told a little bit from his perspective, he talks about, the kafir woman who's taking him hostage, the stupid kafir woman with her kafir rifle on her kafir knee, and then you kind of get to the end. And right, like the last couple pages, he asks for the redhead's name. Okay, so you don't know her name, much about her, except that she's, a healthcare worker until the end. And he asks her for her name. And that's kind of symbolic because he's starting to see her as human.
Yeah, I could see that from your description. So you said you had a medical background. Obviously, you're putting that to work in this story.
Yes.
But also understand something about Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you gain the information to write a story like this from that perspective?
So it's kind of two perspectives here, in a way, if you can think about it. Of course, you have the traditional Western, just basic healthcare worker, but the person that takes them hostage is also a veteran. Okay. So she has experience with this part of the world. All right. And she's kind of like me. I mean, I went to Iraq, so she's very much like me in a lot of ways. She's a little, not exactly, but very much like me. The two Muslim men, like I said, I model them after the traditional hardline suicide bombers, at least the main one that I call First Muhammad. He ends up getting a nickname. His nickname is Mo Better, because when she finds out they're both named Muhammad, she's like, okay, you know what? That might have worked for your mom, but it's not going to work for me. You're getting nicknames. You're Mo Better and you're Motown.
She sounds like a mom.
Yeah. So that's what she calls him. And so Motown is kind of the hard line, I'm going to die for Allah. Or no, Mo Better is the hard line. I'm going to die for Allah. I'm going to, blow up all, all that traditional Aloha snack bar stuff, right?
Okay.
Motown is more like he's just kind of going along with it. Obviously, he's sad his niece died, but he's a little bit more soft on the outside. He, like, when she first takes him hostage, he asks, hey, can we get pizza? Like, he asks the people on the phone, can we get some pizza? The FBI negotiators, or the hostage negotiators or whatever. And then he asks the redhead, the lady keeping him hostage, can we watch The Bachelor, while we're waiting?
Oh, jeez.
And so he's a little bit more soft than his brother is, a little less serious.
A little more westernized, maybe?
Maybe a little bit, although, if you asked him, he probably wouldn't admit it, at least at the first part of the book. But as the story goes on, you can see them both kind of change and start to see the staff in the hospital and this woman that's taken them hostage as human. And that's very important. And it's just kind of starting because they don't even realize what's going on, really. And so there's 8 stories total and 2 poems, okay, that the redhead tells them. And, some of them deal with conspiracy theories. Quite a few of them have spiritual elements. The first 2 stories definitely have a spiritual element. The 4th one is very spiritual. It's about an angel that's dispatched to Earth to basically supervise these demons. The demons have been dispatched to cull the humans that worship Pharmakeia. Are you familiar with Pharmakeia?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Okay, so you know what that term means. Okay.
Yep.
So we saw a lot of Pharmakeia worship during the COVID era. There are still some people that kind of are hanging on to it, but it deals with that. And so this angel basically watches all these people that kind of die suddenly and she, makes sure that the demons only take the ones without the light. And so that's a very spiritual story. And, there's one about this Chinese worker that tries to warn the Americans about what's going on. And her spirit ends up getting killed by our government, and her spirit goes into a doll that she made in the factory. So if you like ghost stories, you're really going to love this.
Sounds like you got a little bit of everything in there, really.
I do. There's 2 satirical stories. There's one that deals with transgenderism. That's satirical. There's another one that deals with the open border. It's called Tito's Tacos, and it's about dogs. I do make a little bit of a jibe at Muslim attitude towards dogs in this story.
Oh, yes, because they don't like dogs.
They don't like dogs. Do you know why they don't like dogs?
Go ahead and explain it if you'd like.
Okay. So there is a part in the Sunnah, which is the biography of Muhammad. Okay, so it's not just the Quran. That's what people need to understand. There's other texts out there too. And the Sunnah is important because you're going to find a lot of reasons why Muslims do what they do, because they're trying to follow Muhammad. Anyway, in the Sunnah, there's a story where Muhammad is waiting for this thing that he's been communicating with, the supposed angel Gabriel. And so he's waiting. Angel doesn't show up. Goes inside the house, talks to his underage wife. Hey, what's going on? And then he looks under the bed, sees a dog, turns the dog out. When the dog leaves, immediately the angel manifests. And he's upset with it. He says, hey, I waited for you and you didn't show. What's going on? And the angel said, I was prevented by the dog that was under your bed. We cannot show up wherever there is a dog or an image. Okay. So then what happened was, of course, Muhammad didn't like this, and he didn't want any more of these meetings prevented. So he ordered his men to kill all the dogs. And so there was a big fat dog genocide after that happened in the Arabian desert. Later, there were exceptions made because a lot of people complained if you had dogs for hunting or things like that. But they're always considered some level of dirty and filthy. And so there are very strict prohibitions on dogs in the Muslim world. And to this day, you see signs where these Muslims have taken over areas in England and whatnot, please don't walk your dogs here. So my overall point is it's very interesting when she's talking to the guys, and they're going to go there and they're going to be the big terrorists and they're going to scare everybody. And, that at least that's what Mo Better wants to do. Right. And his brother is kind of along for the ride, but they suck. They have no experience. And so this happens to them. They get captured, and she's talking to them, telling them, no, you know what? We're enemies. I don't like you. You don't like me. But guess what? We're going to help each other out, and we're going to use each other, and we're going to be useful to each other. And, you're not my worst enemy. And Mo Better gets really offended by that. He says, well, what are we then? And she kind of sticks her hand out. She's like, yeah, medium-ish, gentlemen. You're medium-ish enemies.
So who does she consider the worst?
The U.S. government.
So, oh, really? I thought you would say something like Satan or something.
Well,
but you're looking for more real world enemy, I see.
Satan obviously is the what is it? The lead boss, the main boss, as gamers would say.
Oh, yeah.
But he's at the root of everything. But in the end, you find out why she says the U.S. government is the big one. And I don't want to spoil it.
No, don't spoil it.
Because it's a bit of a twist, and I really hope you enjoy it. But you do find out at the very end why she's so mad, why she uses these guys, and she even makes a way for them, because at the end of the story, they're surrounded by the feds and people from a nearby military base, and they're going to storm the hospital, and these two are going to go down. But she finds a way even for them to survive. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
And to escape. And, that's when Mo Better asks her name.
Okay.
And another thing that's very, very significant about a Muslim male asking a woman for her name is that in a lot of those countries, They don't want to know the woman's name.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yep. Sometimes the boys don't even want to know their mother's name. Like it's almost,
wow.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand, women are not equal to men.
That I understand, but I didn't realize how
So that is a way
was.
of dehumanizing them a little bit, right?
Right.
You don't get a name. You're a non-person.
Yeah, because the name has power.
Right. And so he appreciates, she could have killed him. She didn't. She could have turned him over. She didn't. She roughed him up a little. She let him get away with anything. But at the end of the day, she made a way for them to survive. She used them for good. And, he asked, why are you doing this? She said, because she said, because at the end of the day, gentlemen, we're all motivated by religion. And the God that I worship is a God of life. He has a way of using everyone, even retards like you, especially, she kind of pauses and she goes, especially retards like you.
You sound like you like to write a little bit on the comedic side.
So it is. It's so people that reviewed the book, I got a lot of different opinions about it. The one thing that I heard consistently is, I'm never going to forget this book because it's just so unique. It's like, it's part comedy, it's part ghost story, it's social commentary, it's Orwellian, it's satire, it's serious, it's religious commentary. So, yeah, I mean, some people just really, really loved it. Even the ones who are like, I'm not sure I liked this book, but this is one I'm never going to forget.
Hey, that's a good compliment.
Right. And, I'm not trying to please everybody. I am trying to please only one entity at the end of this day, and that is God. And so if I pleased him, I'm happy. But, good literature used to do that. It used to be very edgy. It used to make you think. It used to just no apologies in your face. Hey, there's stuff we got to talk about. And that's what this book is like. So if you're looking for something nice and fun and squishy, this isn't it. Okay. And, no hard feelings if it's not what you're looking for. But if you want something unique, if you want a bit of a gut punch, if you want to laugh, if you want to cry, then yeah, definitely check out The Spirits of Suddenly.
The Spirits of Suddenly. And Is that out now or that's coming out?
It's coming out. I'm going to keep you updated. I have to actually, I just got all the edits and the copyright back, so it shouldn't be too much longer.
So before Christmas?
Probably right before, yes.
Okay. Well, that would be great. Nice little Christmas present then.
Right.
And Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No apologies there. Let's keep the Christmas spirit going all year long. But yeah, that's my latest. And then of course I'm working on Conspiracy Crew, and so I'll keep you updated on that too.
Perfect. Your stories sound very entertaining just because of the variety and the little bit of humor you put in there. And the way you read it, it's like, oh man, okay, now I gotta see. Because your voice as a writer, you know how it goes. You hear it in your head when you're writing it, but then for you to read it as you intended it and for other people to hear that, it's like, okay, that sounded really good. That's how she intended it.
Well, thank you. Would you like to hear a small little snippet from The Spirits of Suddenly?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll just read the opening. Chapter 1. A redhead seizes 2 Mohammeds and explains the Second Amendment. Spring 2024. Things had gone wrong for Mohammed. Somewhere between taking hostages and making demands, his suicide vest had been removed and his hands bound with 2 feet of duct tape. His legs were also disabled, and his AK-47 was nowhere to be seen. He imagined taking hostages, not being a hostage. But plans go wrong when you don't know things. Mohammed didn't know that the sobbing, running redhead in the white coat was cleverer than she seemed, didn't know the meaning of the radiology sign or the meaninglessness of the 30-06 prohibited weapon signs. As the staff at this hospital, they brought their guns to work anyway. Most importantly, Mohammed didn't know about the magnetic strength of the MRI machine, the machine that grabbed his AK-47 and pinned him to its sleek surface, while the redhead forced anesthesia gas until he drifted into unconsciousness. The few minutes bought by gas had been all the redhead and her restraints needed, and when Mohammed awoke with his brother, also named Mohammed, it was they who were staring down the barrel of an assault weapon, they who were held hostage, and they who wondered what would happen next. Their plans undone, the two Mohammeds now sat in the radiology room with its crisp white walls and flickering fluorescent lights. The MRI machine that had been their undoing lay silent, save for an occasional settling clink. First, Mohammed wondered if this was like the last thing his daughter had seen before Israel bombed her hospital into oblivion. Possibly, he mused. Mead had had a brain tumor that needed periodic scans to track its progress. But her MRI room likely did not contain an annoying Kafir woman. First, Mohammed was doing everything to avoid looking at her, the Kafir woman with her Kafir AR-15 propped on her Kafir knee. The way she held her gun irritated First Mohammed mightily. Rested but at the ready, both hands on the stock as the butt sat within the flaps of her doctor's coat. She held the gun comfortably, casually, as though the weapon were a part of her, an extension of her very soul. She looked at them with unimpressed green eyes that were even, focused, and calm. There was no fear in those eyes because they had seen men like the Mohammeds many times before. If anything, the two Mohammeds bored her, and this offended First Mohammed mightily. Mohammed was a terrorist, so why was she not afraid? He looked at his brother, also named Mohammed, who now sat with his shoulder slumped and his baklava halfway over his eyes. He was puckering his lips in a thoughtful frown. He leaned over then, whispering, "Maybe we should have trained more before trying this." "And who should we have trained with, Mohammed?" his brother hissed. "All the good suicide bombers are dead!" Just then the phone on the wall rang, and when it did, First Mohammed bit out a low curse. Now the Kafir woman would report that the situation was under control. He would be arrested without dying for Allah or seeking justice for the bombed hospital in Gaza. His daughter's death would go unavenged. But the redhead picked up the phone, let out a pitiful wail, and sobbed, "Oh God, they have us. They have guns. They're going to kill us unless you give them what they want." She looked at First Mohammed and mouthed, "What do you want?" Then she put the phone to his ear. He frowned, then looked at his brother, who nodded at the phone. "Go ahead." So First Mohammed leaned into the speaker and said, "We want you to stop supporting Israel. We want justice for Gaza. That is why we have taken this hospital hostage. And pizza." First Mohammed glared at his brother, who shall be called Second Mohammed for reasons obvious. Second Mohammed shrugged at his brother's irritation. "I like pizza," he defended. The redhead flashed a thumbs up and took the phone back. "Okay, you heard them," she sobbed. "Yeah, any kind of pizza, anything but pork or sausage. They're Muslim, they don't eat that. Okay, please hurry." The redhead hung up the phone. Then she wiped her eyes with her fingertips, leaned back against the wall, and said, "How was that, gentlemen? Were the tears okay? Too much. Tell me. I'm a big girl. I can take it." First Mohammed was flabbergasted. What had just happened? More importantly, what was going to happen now? But Second Mohammed offered, "I thought it was very good, actually. Very convincing." "You're sure?" The redhead cocked an eyebrow at him. "Because acting was never my strong suit. If this is going to work, I've got to be convincing." That did it for First Mohammed. What? What is going to work? Messing with the feds, of course. The woman pulled up a clinic stool and sat across from them, smiling. "You see, gentlemen, I'm just as upset with the U.S. government as you are. You're going to help me get back at them." First Mohammed squinted. "How are we going to do that?" The redhead patted her rifle. "Well, now you're going to wait and eat pizza. Then I'll tell you more." "Ooh, can we watch TV while we're waiting?" Second Mohammed piped up and nodded at a small television screen hanging in the corner of the room. "The Bachelor might be on." The redhead frowned, then took up her rifle and sent a bullet careening into the silent screen. A shower of sparks and glass rained on the floor, causing both Mohammeds to cringe until the severed wires stopped sparking and the last shard of glass landed with a tiny clink. A period of shocked silence followed. Then the redhead recharged her rifle. "TV is poison, gentlemen. A poison I would wish on my worst enemies. You two are far from my worst enemies." "Well, what are we then?" First Mohammed was annoyed at her declaration. The redhead extended her arm and splayed her hand in a gesture of so-so. medium-ish, gentlemen. You're medium-ish enemies. Now, the U.S. government, on the other hand, she held up her finger. It's, what do you people call it? Ah, yes, the Great Satan. I know because the people running it are trying to disarm us, and disarming us wouldn't be necessary unless they were planning something big, evil, and deadly. While we're waiting for the pizza, I'll tell you all about their gun-grabbing ways. I promise this will be much more entertaining than TV. That is, if the two of you like ghost stories. And then, of course, she goes into her stories. So yeah, that's just
You had me chuckling here. I'm trying not to laugh too loud on the microphone.
It's okay. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad it was a fun time for you. So
yeah, it's great. It's great to hear you read that. You just do a fantastic job of that. It makes it very interesting. Wanting to read it myself.
Oh, thank you. I deeply appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
is there anything else that you wanted to add to this?
The only thing is, if I could just end it with what I always encourage people to do is just question everything. Okay. Just because there's a narrative going doesn't mean that it's correct. And just kind of look into things yourself, do your own research, and draw your own conclusions. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what my work is all about. So,
yeah, I think that's good advice, no matter what end of the spectrum you're on, politically, culturally, whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much.
You are welcome so much. You take care. God bless.
You too. Thanks.